Welcome to Bismarck Insights with Mayor Mike Schmitz, a transparent and engaging conversational dive into meaningful topics impacting local government in Bismarck, North Dakota. Bismarck Insights is dedicated to removing barriers between the city of Bismarck and the citizens we serve every day.
Welcome to Bismarck Insights. I'm Mike Schmitz, Mayor of Bismarck, and today we have a focus on roads and streets. I have with me Chad Schiermeister, and he is the Assistant Superintendent of Roads and Streets. And we thought we'd probably have snow this past winter. Didn't have a lot, but there's a lot of things that roads and streets crews do besides snow removal. But let's just talk about snow removal briefly. What's the process for the city of Bismarck, Chad? And I should actually ask, what brought you to the city of Bismarck first?
I guess I applied back in 2006, and everybody had told me it was a good place to work. I knew some families, parents or dads that worked here, and I got on, and I've been on here ever since. It's a great family to work with, and I just enjoy it. And my grandfather always said that if you enjoy going to work, it's really not work. So
yep.
That's why I'm still here.
That's good. So let's talk a little bit about what the process is. Snow removal, we didn't have a lot. We may still have snow.
Yep.
It's only March, and I remember April's with snow. So
yep.
What is the process and the determination of when we see snow the removal will occur versus maybe sanding and so forth?
Yeah, so we'll go out and sand and salt anything up to 2 inches after we accumulate 2 inches, which we usually try to figure out by calling NOAA out at the airport, and we go off of their measurements. If they say we got 2 inches, then we'll bring our crews in and we'll start on our snow emergency routes. We'll work on them until they're cleared out, and if it still keeps snowing, we'll just stay on them until they stay clear for emergency personnel.
And then we have routes throughout the community that are cleared, but they're on a rotational basis.
Yes.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Because everybody wants to know why their streets aren't cleaned.
Right. So after our emergency routes, we have our secondaries, which are schools and our arterial routes. Those are also done right after emergency routes before we get into our priority residential areas, which is 4 inches or more. When we go into that, if we start in a specific, we have 7 units in the city.
Yep.
Each unit is combined of 4 operators that they could switch back and forth on shifts with. When they do start an area, and I'm just going to use this as an example because it's my unit that I plowed, 19th and Century, there's Pebble Creek there. If I started there first on this snow event, I would likely end there last the next time. So we'd rotate. So the next time I'd just move north and start out at the point. And then I'd just move away, to the west and start that way and circle back around. Most guys and most people know that they're supposed to rotate. However, there are some times where in a snow event, we might have more wind and snow in that northwest corner of town, and it blocks a lot of areas. So we may end up having a few more people up in that area, helping get that open faster for people to get out.
So the point is one snow event you might be first, next one you might be last. You could be somewhere in between too,
absolutely.
Because we do try to rotate through the city to make sure we try to treat everybody as fair as possible, but knowing there are certain areas of the community where there's wind and maybe there's something that's causing drifting, because we had a big snow event earlier that we got big piles, and we have to make sure we keep those roads open.
Yep.
And 4 inches doesn't necessarily shut down a road.
Right, yep.
Okay. We talked a lot about snow gates in the past, and we certainly use snow gates. What's the level when snow gates are used, or maybe even better yet, most functional?
So they're supposed to be used at all times. We use them at all times. We try to. Also, people may understand and may not. You're working on a third 12-hour shift. A person may get tired here and there. You may forget a driveway here and there. It's not like we purposely do it. It's just you're going to not fall asleep. You're going to forget things here and there. So we do try to use them all the time. The only time we do not use them is if a snow emergency is declared by yourself or commission or whoever does that. And then we wouldn't have to use them, but we still use them then. Because when we go to intersections, we don't want a speed bump in the intersection, so we're still going to use them to clear that out of there. It's just that we wouldn't necessarily have to use them at driveways. They probably work the best where there's going to be nothing left in a driveway at 4 to 6 inches. Anything above 6 inches, you're going to get some sort of snow in your apron at the bottom, some sort.
Mm-hmm. So again, we didn't have a lot of snow this year yet, but there's a lot of things your crew does your team members do throughout the year? What are some of those things?
So we'll patch potholes and maintain the city streets is what our job is to do yearly. Obviously, we can't do no painting of parking spots and stuff like that, but we do that when it's nicer. But a lot of the stuff that we've been doing is out filling potholes the best we can and maintaining them and watching them. So if they blow out again, which this time of year, you could feel it today and tomorrow it's going to be gone because the moisture, the frost is coming out and you get a little bit of water going with it and it pops them out. So we could be back and forth in there every day fixing them. This winter, thankfully, I think we've had about 9 new people in the last 8 months, and that's a lot. Mm-hmm. We've been doing a lot of training. So if people say, why are they out plowing? That's a waste of city money. It's really not, because that's our training for them. In the past, when we've had a lot of snow and you're new, you didn't get that kind of training. You got thrown in it and you went and you did your job. Right. So we took a lot of time to train this year. A lot of sanding and stuff like that, and a lot of areas where we hauled snow, because some people never hauled snow before. So they never drove up to a blower, and if you're a farm kid, it's kind of like driving a silage truck. You're shooting silage into it, so you just kind of stay beside it and go. So we did a lot of training that way this year.
Which is important, because when that major event comes, we want to make sure our team members are well trained. But it's also important to understand for citizens, yes, we employ a crew year round, and we have to have them available. So that's why we find other things to do. Right. And maintaining streets is a year-round function. So like during the summer, you're not going in and doing a complete rebuild of the street, but you may still be going to several areas in the community to do smaller repair jobs.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll go in, we have our own backhoe, rubber tire backhoe. We'll go into areas, and if it's really alligated and really bad and engineering going to do a project for it for a year or two, yeah, it's our job to maintain it. So we'll go in there and dig that piece out. If it's got some mucky or stuff underneath that, we'll dig that out and put a gravel base underneath there so it lasts the next year or two. And we'll go in there and put pavement in there and roll it out and do what we can.
And is your crew also part of the group that cleans the streets?
Absolutely. And we got a head start this year. If people noticed, we were kind of probably out in areas and that we probably wouldn't be until mid-April. So we got a good start on it. We're going to focus on starting our citywide sweeping here Monday. The following week, we used to do some double shift sweeping, so we'd start at 5:30 in the morning and go till 2, and then 1:30 till 10 at night. We're going to go back to that the week of the 24th for 2 weeks to see how much we can get done. So as soon as we get that done, then the next thing we could do is go into our crack sealing and try to prevent any other kind of damage to the road. So we'll get out there and try to do as much as we can.
And that's an important function, the maintaining of the roads, sealing cracks or taking care of potholes. By doing that, it's helping extend the life so that we don't have to go in and do a complete rebuild, which is where special assessments come for people. So this is a function of our general operations that the street crew, public works take care of. When we get into that major snow event, I'm going to back up a little bit because I've had conversations with Steve Solway, the Director of Public Works. You don't always only get to use your own people, so we're not. Right. Sometimes you have to borrow from other departments, correct?
Yep.
And who is that we're borrowing from?
So our forestry department helps us out a lot, and our landfill helps us out a lot with their operator twos. The city has grown so much in 20 years that I've been there that we've still only had 7 units, and we need to expand our units because we don't have enough to cover all the roads. I think we got roughly 1,500 lane miles that we plow. So I think it's like 380 center lane miles. That's a lot. And back 20 years ago, I don't know what we had. I'd have to look, but we've grown a lot. And the new developments for us to get out there as fast as everybody expects it to be with only 30-some people, 34, 35 people, it's hard to do.
Right. That's why we cross-utilize our team members, because also we probably couldn't employ or keep them busy year-round when we have those major events. To add 10 more people, do we have enough work for them year-round? Probably not. That's the important part of sharing that team across that, and you probably help them out too at times.
Oh yeah. We help the forestry, and cleanup week's coming up here in April. We will send pretty much every one of our guys out there to help with the landfill or cleanup week. Right. We'll send loaders and trucks around to clean up the heavy stuff. And
so, in your role, you mentioned we've got some new people. We've had some retirements, correct?
Correct,
Or
yep.
just other departures for other reasons. People
Yep.
got better jobs. But how do you feel the staffing is right now with, I mean, knowing what the kind of the budgeted numbers are and so forth for expected staff?
Right. I think we are doing okay. Like I said, it would be nice if we had enough to expand another unit, which I know Steve is working on. We have 3 current openings, which we hired yesterday, and typically we don't hire anybody without a CDL because at the city, for us to operate equipment, you need a commercial license.
Right.
Yesterday's the first time in 20 years that I've been there that we interviewed people without it because we're just not getting nobody to apply. Nobody wants to come and work for, I think our starting pay is $26.75. You're getting paid more than that at private sector, and you don't even need that commercial license. With that commercial license also now they passed a few years back that you have to take a schooling for it. Well, that's I think $6,000 at BSC. Most kids that are coming out of high school don't have that money to pay for that.
Mm-hmm.
So we've kind of looked at it a different way and see if we can't bring some people in if they got a good attitude, they have a good work ethic and stuff like that, and see if we can help them with that CDL and then help them bring that on with us, and hopefully they'd stay with us.
So we'll help them with the training process and
Yep.
get them through
Yep.
the schooling and hopefully get them licensed with their CDL.
Yep, absolutely.
In the interim, when they don't have their CDL, what can we have them do?
They're going to be shoveling and they'll be riding in a pickup with somebody. Yep. So everything we operate, you need a commercial license for, other than a pickup.
Sure.
So when we do go out and pave, you're going to have a couple extra guys that are going to need to shovel and rake and stuff like that. So that's what they'll be doing for a while, and we're going to try to encourage them to get that permit as soon as possible, and hopefully that license within 6 months. We have our own instructor that's
Good.
certified to do that. So it's just going to be our time and our training that'll be into it. So
Sure. So as we look towards the summer, what are some of the things that you know are kind of on the plan for your crew to take care of? I mean, I realize there's things that are going to come up we don't know about, but
Right.
we probably have a plan of where we're going to maybe attack some streets to
Yep.
put some maintenance into them. Can you share any of that information?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to crack seal, which we've already started to do some of that. We're going to go into crack sealing stuff that were projects done the last 2 years. That's when you start seeing the cracks, and then that's when engineering won't have nobody come back and do anything on that. So we'll do the maintenance on that from there on out. Then we'll do some. Steve bought us a mastic machine. It's kind of like you could fill cracks with it. Plus, it's got stuff where you could put holes. You could fill holes with it. So we did an area last year that we thought worked great. It had depression cracks, and as cars would go over, they'd feel that hump.
Yep.
We went in there and filled all them, and the residents in that area called and said thank you because it's such a smoother ride now. So we're going to go out and do that in areas that were scrub seals prior to this year as well, so we can try to take that, make it a smoother ride for residents and people that are traveling in them areas.
Sure. And so if residents want to know when the timeline might be, if they had a scrub seal or something like that done maybe 2 summers ago, is that right? Probably it might
Yep.
be. You might see someone coming in from
Yep.
our actually city crews,
Yep.
and knowing that we're just going in to try to maintain those streets and
Yep.
preserve life.
And that's going to come, and obviously budget reasons. As long as we have the funds and stuff to do that, we're gonna do whatever we can with the resources and tools we have to make the streets better for people to drive.
Okay. And how do you feel about your crew that that's hired now? Are you're comfortable with what their capacities are and capabilities?
Yeah, they're all learning yet. I mean, obviously, if you look back, when I got started 20 years ago, a lot of them people, we did things different because technology today is better. And they were used to doing things a certain way, but a lot of them have retired and moved on and stuff like that. So we have to adapt to the changing of things in the world and technology. So the guys we got in now, a lot of them are, younger a little bit, and they're not afraid to work. So it's great to have them. They got a good share of them have good work ethic. Of course, you still have a couple that are Debbie Downers, but you work with them and you try to encourage them to, be happy about things. And
Sure.
So
20 years, what has changed?
technology's changed. Back in 20 years ago, our sanders all had just a lever. You couldn't really tell nothing. We didn't have brine with them. Now everything's push button and it's all computerized. We have to calibrate them. Back then you didn't. You just turned a dial and you put down what you thought, and you could see it. Nowadays, if you got to, sometimes you don't even know if you're actually applying material on the back because you're not put enough down. So the calibration of the trucks is important, and we do that every fall before we get into doing our winter stuff. And with that as well, as we talked about training earlier, we hold a rodeo, an equipment rodeo out at our landfill area, where we invite Burleigh County, Morton County, and the city of Mandan and stuff like that. Typically not the DOT, because they don't usually run the equipment we do. So we have an equipment rodeo where we make it a competition. We set up some obstacle courses, and people run through that, and it's a good training because they don't sit in that stuff for 6 months.
Right.
So when you get back in there, it's a good spot for them to sit in there and get familiarized again with it.
Sure. You brought up something just now, brine, which is that's more like a pre-treatment, isn't it, for ice, or do we do some pre-treatment?
We do. You can use it for both. Basically what it's there, it's to prevent a bond. It's to prevent that ice from bonding to the roadway.
Yep.
So when we do go back and plow it, it pops off easier. Yeah, there's times that we go out and wheel ruts are there and there's still some stuff inside there. We'll go out and try to get that off, and we'll use that brine to apply it, and we might chase it with a little bit of salt to get it to melt and stuff like that. But yeah, we use it for pre-treating. We use it for trying to get this stuff off the roadway.
Okay. And
we use it in all of our sanders. We have saddle tanks on each one, and that's applied with it. What that does is help that stuff stick to the roadway. And
so we have hopefully less slippery accident type opportunities.
Right. Yep.
So as we look into 2026, what are some of the things that you feel we should be looking to try to have that will help you and your crew?
Well, I know it's difficult to do with the pay, but that's if we could get enough people in that were experienced operators that could get decent pay. I know that's always a tough thing too, because if you bring in people, even at our wage right now, you bring in people that have been here 4 or 5 years, and it's only 10 cents, 20 cents less than what they're making. It doesn't work well with the morale. So how to improve that is difficult for you as a mayor and the commissioners to do. I understand that. But for us to do what we need to do, we need to have the proper tools and resources.
Sure.
And right now, I think we got all that. It's just if we can expand our team a little bit wider and our units to get things done faster for people.
And that would be one of the challenges you probably see
Yep.
going into the future. As the city continues to grow, and this might be a difficult question to answer because you maybe don't really know, but when is it going to be necessary that we need to create another route for snow removal, principally?
Probably 5 years ago. No, but yeah, moving forward, the sooner the better for us, because like you get calls, everybody gets calls. Like they're not here yet, they haven't done this.
Yep.
You read it on Facebook. Well, they haven't done our street. They can't be out there working. That's the thing. If we're in our other areas of town and working, you're not going to see another unit out somewhere. Where if we keep moving north and east like we're moving, and just north and west, we're going to need another unit to get started in some other areas. And with the landfill having their loader and their blade, that helps us.
Sure.
So,
but that's, and I ask that question not so much that I as mayor don't understand this, but so our residents understand
Right.
it, that we're trying to be as fiduciarily wise as we can be, but there's going to be a point in time where, because the city has grown, we may well have to find a way to create a whole nother crew, which is,
Yep.
as you stated, it's probably 8 members
Yep.
to be able to run 24/7 or close to 24/7
Yep.
with that crew and another. So if we go from 7 to 8, that's really what it's going to mean.
Yep.
Or if we want to be quicker to get snow removed, we have to figure out how we do that.
Right.
And think outside the box. Equipment's not going to move really any faster.
yeah, no, you
know,
can't. Yeah.
it can only go so fast. So
Got to do it in a safely manner so nobody gets hurt.
yeah, and we want to make sure we protect the residents
Yep.
who are driving, who are
Passing through.
passing through in any way, shape, or form, pedestrians, and so forth.
Yeah.
So, any other challenges that you see from your perspective for roads and streets in the city of Bismarck?
No, it's always a challenge just because some things that come up new and we have such green people, fairly new people. Just time is what we need to get them people trained and moving up. So the more that we can do training and people understand that we're a maintenance department, we're not going to go out and just completely fix it out and be done with it, and it's never going to be better. But we maintain it to get it to stay where to hold up until a project can be taken care of, done it. So
On a wider scale basis.
Yes.
'Cause
Yep.
typically as a city, we don't like to go in and just repair a block.
right, yeah,
It's not very cost effective for the residents on that block. Certainly isn't cost effective for the city as well, because there's just a mobilization cost and to get a crew from outside, because again, the street department doesn't go in and do the mill and overlay
Right, yeah.
or even a complete sub-base
Right.
reconstruction. That's done by a contractor, and they don't like to come in. Well, they'll come in,
Yeah.
but it's not very cost effective for us. So
right, yep.
from a job satisfaction standpoint, once we get someone working for us and they're comfortable with pay, which obviously is always a concern, but do you feel like we have a good environment for them?
Yeah.
Culturally,
Yeah.
they have good satisfaction from their job?
I don't think I'd be here 20 years later if I didn't think it was a good place to work and if the environment wasn't, good. Everybody is a little bit different, and I think a lot of the younger people that don't really care about the insurance don't care about that. They want the money. But if you want to start a family and you need the insurance, it's a great place to work. And like I said, if you love doing your job, it's really not a job.
Yep.
So
I don't have a lot of other questions. Do you have any questions for me?
no, I don't have any questions. I was maybe bring up back to snow removal. I remember when Steve saw we started here, we did a comparison, him and I. The city of Hazen was bragging about how fast they clean their streets. And so Steve went in, he's a numbers guy, and he figured out exactly how many people they needed to do that street. And then he did a comparison to ours. We had 34 people, and we would need 53 to do what they did in that shorter time. So it's kind of, if you look at some things that way, how much people want to get things done faster,
Yep.
it's an eye-opener.
Yep.
You know.
I know something else that Steve looked at probably as a result of the first year he was working as the director for Public Works is like downtown, snow removal and the snow piling into sidewalks there, and how could we do that to keep those sidewalks open? And I think there were some solutions attempted to try to pull the snow to the middle of the street.
Yep.
How did that go, do you think?
This year, we didn't get to try it a whole lot because we didn't have that big snowfall event. I think if we got that 8 inches or more and we pulled it, it would be great. We did do it on Main Street. We got the approval from you and, and your commission to pull it from, I think, 6th Street west. And we did do it. It was great. We were back in that night and we hauled it off and maybe disrupted traffic a little bit during the day that day. But other than that, it worked great.
And I think it probably helped the businesses out who have sidewalks in front of them, and they didn't have to go out and try to remove the snow, but it also allowed the pedestrian traffic to move a little more freely through downtown Bismarck.
Yep. Yeah, and there too, like Steve, he's like, well, let's try to move some skidders down there and push the snow out a little bit further because, we go in there, take our gates off our motor grader blades, and we try to pull that stuff off as much as we can. Well, we went ahead with some with our tool cat and a skidder and tried to push out as much as we could so we could get a lot of that out of there. I don't know if a person could work with the contractors that do it so they can just push it out a little bit further for us or not. I don't know how that would work, but that would be great.
Yeah.
So
again, Chad, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for sharing a little bit of information about streets in the city of Bismarck and the things you do, and certainly everybody probably notices the snow removal more so than the rest of it, but honestly, if we don't take care of the maintenance of the streets, we have a bigger issue, and that's a very, actually, in my opinion, a significantly critical component of your team's work. So thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching Bismarck Insights with Mayor Mike Schmitz. If you have specific topics or questions you'd like addressed in future episodes, email mschmitz@bismarcknd.gov. Or call the City of Bismarck at 701-355-1300. To learn more about the City of Bismarck, visit bismarcknd.gov or follow us on a variety of social media channels by searching BismarckNDGov. Bismarck Insights is a collaboration between Dakota Media Access and the City of Bismarck. You may find Bismarck Insights episodes on Government Access Channels 2 and 602, as well as on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV devices, on Radio Access 102.5 FM, and on demand at freetv.org.